Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Thank you to everyone who is joining us this morning for our monthly webinar series. We're wrapping up the school year in June. And our topic today is we're going to focus on advising students with unique needs and circumstances. Counselors and advisors work year-round helping students that have specific life circumstances, and we should always take those into account when advising them on post-secondary planning. And today we have guest speakers from Austin Community College and also the Texas Workforce Commission to offer successful strategies that can be used in the areas of graduation, course planning, and also transition planning and into higher education. So we also have one of our leader fellows, Patty Morton Gibbs, from Montague County in Region 9, and she's going to share some best campus practices with students and families as well. So thank you so much for your interest. I know it's wrapping up the school year and it's a very busy time. We're going to go ahead and get started here. For all of you joining the webinar, you will receive a link to access the recording, and we'll also be posting all of our webinar content on our website, texasoncourse.org. So we'll go ahead and just get started. I know many of you have used Zoom already. Let me go ahead and get our slides here. So many of you are really familiar with using Zoom, but there's a couple of settings we just want to point out. This first one is testing your audio and getting your volume to change. You can also raise your hand and lower your hand. I will say we have set aside some time at the end. We have a slide for questions, and we're going to have our guest speakers have an opportunity to answer those. So I would suggest using the chat box right here, and we can keep track of everything that you all might want to know or make comments on in that chat box. And then right there, you can add it also in the Q&A box and input your question and hit the send button. And then on that top right is where you can change your screen size. So just a couple of introductory things that we want to remind attendees about and give you some updates. Our goal at Texas OnCourse is, of course, to equip middle and high school students for post-secondary success by simplifying the college and career planning process. And we do that by using these areas that are listed here. Educator training and our most widely used resource, the Academy, and other digital tools such as Middle Galaxy and MapMyGrad that support our middle school curriculum guide. And then we also want our materials to be easy to use and highly effective. And we try to connect educators around the state to the extensive network of resources that we have out there. The Texas OnCourse is a UT Austin-led initiative created at the request of the Texas legislature that works in partnership with the governor's Tri-Agency Workforce Initiative. All of these organizations listed here work together to connect education and industry in the state of Texas. So the users of our tools include middle and high school counselors, teachers, administrators, and also community-based organizations that focus on post-secondary success. We also provide resources for students and their families as well. Believe it or not, we still get questions on who we are and what we do. And there's really lots of different things we do, but all of them focus on addressing the gaps during transitions with the goal in mind of simplifying the college and career planning process. And all of those things support our ultimate vision is that all students, no matter where they come from or where they're going, have a plan for what's next. So it's kind of helpful to describe our list of resources in two main buckets. The first being digital and in-person professional development resources for educators. One example is our monthly webinar series. And then the other bucket is our college and career exploration tools. And I mentioned before that, that we support the effort starting as early as the middle school grades. So we're getting a lot of interest in folks doing college and career advising activities and transition planning in those early grades starting in 6th grade. Just a quick update, we have over 11,000 educators from across the state of Texas that are registered and completing professional development and using our resources. And those educators are represented in over 3,000 schools in over 900 school districts. So just to kind of review how our academy is set up, we have 30 college and career advising topics. And those content areas are now, we have 4 content areas: career pathways, financial aid, post-secondary pathways, and our newest, which is advising special populations. So we'll talk a little bit about that content this morning. Each content area has learning modules and badges that are gained through the learning process. But these are the major areas of learning within the academy. And folks that are doing professional development in the academy can start on whatever topics they so choose. So our quick agenda for this morning, we're going to quickly get started, and we have over 40 educators registered for today's webinar. Samantha Gonzales from our content team is going to do our resource spotlight right after we do some quick introductions. And as I mentioned, our guest speakers are Angelica Cansino de Sandoval, Director of Special Supports from Austin Community College. And also joining us is Laura Villarreal, Statewide Transition Specialist from the Texas Workforce Commission. And then Patty Morton Gibbs is going to review some of our best practices, and she is a special education counselor in Morton County in Region 9. We'll also have some time at the end for questions and comments, and just provide some quick updates and announcements as we get into the summer months. A lot of you know me that are on this webinar, but I'll start with my short introduction. My name's Laura Guggen, and I'm Senior Partnerships Coordinator here at Texas OnCourse. My background is in K-12 counseling and college and career advising, and I work closely with our school districts and their implementation of our middle school resources, as well as our fellows and counselors using the academy.
Good morning, I'm Samantha Gonzales. I'm the program coordinator at Texas OnCourse for the Content and Resources team. My background is in college advising through Advise Texas and a nonprofit college and success organization in Houston.
Good morning. My name is Angelica Cansino de Sandoval. I'm the Director of Special Supports at Austin Community College. I run the Foster Care Alumni Support Center Student Emergency Fund program, so all programs that support underserved communities at Austin Community College. My background is, prior to Austin Community College, I worked as a counselor at Gary Job Corps for many years, and then I was a counselor at Austin Community College for a few years before getting the director position.
Good morning. My name is Laura Villarreal. I'm a program specialist for transition students for Texas Workforce Commission. I've been with the agency for 20 years. So prior to that, I really don't have any recollection to what I did, since it's been so long that I've been with the agency. But thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Laura.
Good morning, I'm Patty Morton Gibbs from Morton County Special Education Co-op. I serve students in 7 districts in Morton County in Region 9. I've been an educator for 24 years and a counselor for the last 12.
So good morning again, this is Samantha. One of our goals at Texas OnCourse is to ensure the academy includes infographics that you as counselors and advisors can download, print, and then immediately use in your advising sessions with students and their families. The resources we would like to highlight today include strategies to supporting students with unique needs, pre-ETS required activity examples, and then workplace readiness skills. So the first infographic we would like to highlight is entitled Strategies to Support Students with Unique Needs and Circumstances. This infographic highlights several strategies to promote college and career planning. Using these strategies can help create an environment that is inclusive, helpful, and informed so that students are comfortable in their decisions. One strategy is helping these students advocate for themselves. This is done through instilling a growth mindset in students and practicing things like communication skills, goal setting, time management, and even finding creative ways to overcome challenges. In addition to these strategies, you as educators can work with your administrators and community to build support systems that include both a safe and supportive school environment and community resources. These support systems can help enhance students' confidence and success when navigating college and career exploration. The next infographic we would like to highlight from our academy is entitled Pre-TS Required Activity Examples. All students with disabilities are entitled to the necessary services that will assist in post-secondary planning, career exploration, and workplace readiness. There are 5 activities that the Workforce Initiative and Opportunity Act requires vocational rehabilitation programs to perform as part of their pre-employment and transition services. These activities provide great opportunity for school counselors and vocational rehabilitation counselors to work together and use to support students. One activity we'd like to highlight is job exploration counseling. This activity includes things like administering interest inventories, identifying career pathways students may be interested in, and even providing non-traditional employment options. This infographic can be found in Unit 1 of Transition Services for Students with Disabilities module in the Academy. And the last resource we would like to highlight is our Workplace Readiness Skills infographic. Another way to support students with disabilities and other students with unique needs is to help them acquire the necessary workplace readiness skills. We've heard often over the years that employers hire because of a person's hard skills, but promote or fire because of their soft skills. This is why it is important to help students develop skills like active listening, talking and writing, decision-making, and even good manners. Please visit Unit 4, Workplace Preparedness of our Transition Services for Students with Disabilities module in the Academy to download the infographic today. In each module in the Texas OnCourse Academy, we've generated a number of resources, including infographics and handouts that you can print and hang up in your office or hand out to students. You can find these resources throughout each module, but we also have the resources from the modules we're discussing today available for you to download on our Pinterest. Here's a snapshot of the Pinterest board for our Transition Services for Students with Disabilities module resources. You can access this board by visiting www.pinterest.com/Texas OnCourse. And now I'll turn it over to Angelica to share best practices around supporting students in foster care.
Good morning. Again, this is Angelica Cansino, the Sandoval. I'm going to talk about our foster care alumni program in particular, and then how we support our students at ACC who have gone through the foster care system or who are currently in the foster care system. We also work with single moms and first-generation college students, and generally just low-income students at Austin Community College through these programs that we administer. Want to go to currently our foster care alumni students, we have 150 to 200 foster care alumni students that attend ACC each semester. We do know that we have additional students. So right now we have about 6,000 early college, high school, and dual credit students that attend ACC every semester as well. We don't know of those students which ones are currently in foster care because of the confidentiality and rules around protecting their identity. We are currently trying to find out if there's a way to organize that. I'm sorry. We're currently trying to figure out if there's a way for us to organize that. 50% of our students are currently actively participating in our programming. The other 50%, we invite them, but we don't always get 100% participation. Currently, we identify the students, either they self-identify or they're identified from their tuition and fee waiver. They're automatically put on caseloads for the advocates when they turn in that tuition and fee waiver, and then from there invited to participate in the programming. Our fall to fall retention is currently 56%, which is up. About 5 years ago when we started this program, this program came under Support Center. The fall to fall retention was around 40%. 41%. So it has gone up quite a bit. Each student, when they're identified, they are put under a support center advocate's caseload, and they get to pick the campus. So we do have a support center advocate at every campus. Right now we have 11 campuses, and so 11 advocates. Students can hop from campus to campus and can take classes at any campus during each semester, but typically they pick a campus where they either live very closely to or that they just feel more comfortable in attending. And so that's the advocate who has them on their caseload typically. The advocate provides everything for the student. So typically this is the only person at ACC that they really have to see. The advocate connects them with financial aid. The advocate does advising, counseling, and then of course they are either licensed counselors or licensed social workers, so they do also provide personal support. Some of the program that we provide involves meetups, so we try to have at least monthly meetups. We have holiday gatherings for them. We provide them with holiday gifts. We provide them with snack packs before each long break. We also have a summer orientation that we try to organize before each fall semester. We really kind of base that off of the need. So if we contact PAL, LifeWorks, and they say that there's a large group of students or a few students that that will be starting at ACC, then we will organize a summer orientation. We also connect students with community resources, and ACC also has emergency assistance and textbook assistance specifically for this population. Some common issues that we have encountered that are ongoing for some students from this particular population is family. So there's students who of course have no connection to family and have just not a lot of support in general. So that's obviously a concern or an ongoing issue, but we also have a lot of students who, once they age out, they try to reconnect with family, and that often causes a lot of turmoil in their life. It causes a lot of emotional concerns, and so those are some of the things that the advocates have to work with them on. Housing is an ongoing issue. We live in Austin, and most of the students have to live in Austin because of transportation issues, and there's not a lot of options for housing, and the options that are out there are usually full, and there's waiting lists, and so we have to kind of work on other plans. They typically have some very unstable relationships with partners or significant others. They move a lot, so even when you get them a stable housing, they find a reason why they have to move from this side of town to the other side of town. So really kind of holding on to where they're at and making sure you know their phone number, their current phone number is important. They have definitely a lack of feeling of belonging to the college, inconsistent commitment to classes. One day they'll walk in saying, I want to go to school, I'm completely motivated. And then somewhere in the middle, they stop going to class. So really kind of gauging that commitment, engaging that motivation, and re-motivating them is important. Communication skills and life skills, those are ongoing teaching tools, helping them communicate in a professional manner with faculty and staff. Life skills, we do work on some basic life skills sometimes, especially when they're going on their own, out on their own. So our advocates work a lot on that. Self-advocacy, we do try and teach them how to advocate for themselves in a professional manner that's going to get them to where they need to be. And then, speaking up for themselves is another issue. So either they're over talking or not talking enough. There are a lot of undiagnosed mental health issues that we have to work with students on, and we try and make sure they are connected with their Medicaid, since they do have it until, I believe, age 24. Negative perception of counseling. So we don't call ourselves counselors or social workers for a reason, because we do understand that this population may have some negative perceptions of counseling and social work, and then of community resources as well. Some of our best practices. So first, I'd like to say that all of our advocates have gone through trauma-informed care training, and they continue. So anytime there are new trainings around trauma-informed care, they will continue to go. And we find that that's important in understanding this particular population and populations like it, their patterns and their ways of thinking. We do allow this particular population, I think it's important to allow them to go at their own pace. A lot of times, advisors or counselors will want to push, and they think that's really important to push students, and it is to challenge them. But sometimes with this particular population, if you challenge them and they fail, it can really cause them just to stop, just to just tap out. And so I think it's important to, in the beginning especially, to allow them to go at their own pace until they can see a history of success, and then jump in. So I think that's really important for this particular population. I think it's also important to write down a plan, and then when there is lagging commitment or lagging motivation, to go back to that plan, to continue to motivate. You're going to have to continue to motivate each semester, in the middle of semester, beginning of semester. So this is a population you want to connect to all the time. You want to stay connected to. Accept the instability. So they're never going to be stable, not in their younger lives. So just accept that that's going to be part of the challenges that they face and that you face in working with them. And you want to prepare, have community resources in your pocket, or resources in the college in your pocket that can help you prepare for that instability. You want to be very, very flexible on appointments. There's a lot of students who won't make appointments, but with this particular population, if they don't make an appointment and they pop in, you want to still see them, because they may not come back. And so I think that that's really important to, especially in the beginning, to allow them to just come in, and then just remind them, you need to try and make your appointments. And then eventually you can get to being a little bit more stringent on that. But I think in the beginning, when you're trying to build that relationship, being completely flexible is important. We always have food in our office. We find that they're never going to tell us that they're hungry, or that they're never going to tell us they haven't eaten. But if we have food there, that they'll take it. And so just visible food on your desk, like bars, I think is important. Incentives are always important for young students. Just extra financial help. Right now, all of our foster care alumni students, we purchase their textbooks every semester. And so we at least know that that's one time that they're going to come into the office to get those textbooks. And that really helps for us to at least start building that relationship. And then eventually they just come on their own, and eventually they don't need the help. So I think that's really important, just to have incentives. It's also really important not to ask questions about their history in foster care. We never ask if they want to tell us. We just allow it to organically come out. If it's going to, some of them will never talk about it. Identify a constant person. I think that's really important. Some of the stronger relationships that I have had with foster care alumni happened when the counselors brought the student to the college to register for the first time. And then after that, I just kind of took over on that relationship. They trusted the counselor, they trusted that person in their high school, and that trust was just automatically transferred to me when the counselor brought them in. So I think identifying a person up front can really help a student from this population. You want to be proactive in check-ins. You have to be the person looking for them, texting, calling, trying all the different methods of communication that are available. You also want to just pace through what you're teaching them about college. We can't, most students, we want them to register on their own from the beginning. We want them to do kind of all of these things from the beginning on their own. And I think with this particular population, you're having to teach them so much. They're learning so much all at the same time. Life skills, living on their own, living without family, living without support, that I think, you know, taking it a little easier on the college stuff is okay, and it's important, and it can really help them be successful. You definitely want to withhold judgment. They will make some interesting decisions, but you want to withhold judgment and just support them through whatever happens, whatever the chaos may happen after that. And then you really want to encourage their involvement in the college community. I think that's the only thing that's really going to have a long-lasting connection for them. And so I think really encouraging it, really putting it out there all the time. So one thing ACC does is we're actually going to have our second annual teen conference this June. And this is a picture from our last teen conference. So these are the advocates from all of the different campuses. And we come together, and there's 80 youth from throughout Texas who are currently in foster care that will attend ages 16 through 19. And they're currently in foster care, and they will attend this. And the Texas Department of Family Protective Services transports them to this particular conference. And it's something that we have enjoyed. The conference is about motivation. It's about helping them plan. And so this is just a picture of the group of advocates that work with our youth at ACC. And we're going to move on to Laura Villarreal. Thank you.
Thank you. That is such great information. I didn't know ACC did all of those things. Well, good morning. My name is Laura Villarreal. I'm a program specialist for transition students at our state office in Austin, and I work for Texas Workforce Commission Vocational Rehabilitation Services. So to give you some context on what I'm going to cover today, there's already been some conversation about WIOA, which is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So in 2014, WIOA was signed by President Obama, which really enhanced VR transition services for students with disabilities. WIOA mandates that pre-ETs must be available to students with disabilities who are potentially eligible, as well as those who have been determined eligible for services. So with this, it allows students to access pre-ET services without making an application. It allows the services to be more accessible, and students can benefit from these services regardless of whether or not they have completed a formal application with VR. So today I'm going to cover some high-level transition initiatives known as our Pathways to Careers initiatives. So many of you may know that studies show that students who've had 2 or more jobs during the last 2 years of high school are more likely to be engaged in post-high school employment. So we know that there's much more success for our kids once they graduate out of high school if they've had exposure to employment while in high school. So with the passage of WIOA, it has allowed VR to partner with our local workforce board to locate employers that match students with expanded job opportunities. And you can see on the next slide that these employment opportunities are available throughout the year. Kids can sample jobs for 12 weeks, up to 20 hours per week. It's an opportunity to help our students with disabilities gain soft skills and hard skills for work, learn about and experience actual work in possible fields of interest. It also provides students with disabilities hands-on exposure to jobs. It prepares students with disabilities to obtain competitive and integrated employment, and it increases work-based learning opportunities for VR participants throughout Texas' integrated workforce system. One of the programs we're very proud of is our Summer Earn and Learn program, also known as SEAL. 2019 will be our 3rd summer that we have implemented the SEAL program. Our goal last year was to have 2,500 students participate in our Summer Earn and Learn program, and we were able to achieve that goal. And these statistics are relative to our 2018 year, but we're already working hard on summer 2019. Our next initiative that I want to cover is our Explore STEM. The goal of our Explore STEM program is to expose students with disabilities to career fields in science, technology, engineering, and math through week-long non-residential camps that offer hands-on interactive activities to provide an opportunity for students to experience what the STEM profession offers. So in 2018, we had 11 institutions provide 23 STEM camps, and we had 226 students complete the STEM camps. Some of the programs included Angelo State University, where they offered STEM camps on biology, earth science, medicine, computer science, and engineering. We also had Grayson College that offered STEM camps on criminal justice, physics, meteorology, chemistry, and manufacturing industry. And Texas A&M offered 3D prints, physics, and flying drones. Charting the Course is another initiative under our Pathways to Careers that has allowed us to partner with the education service centers around the state and has also brought our parents to the table. The goal of the Charting the Course is to engage students and their families with a series of 13 transition planning sessions held often after school or in the evenings or on the weekends for grades 8 through 12. The phase approach will occur beginning with 8th and 12th grade, and then will also fold in the 9th, 11th, and eventually the 10th grade throughout the subsequent years. Another initiative that I believe one of the other speakers talked about was Advise Texas. This offers a near-peer relationship with our kids and with counselors in the school setting. So this will be offered at 114 schools across the state. The goal is to increase the number of students with disabilities who pursue and are successful in post-secondary education. So some of the statistics show us that men with bachelor's degrees earn approximately $900,000 more over their lifetime than men with high school degrees only, and that women with bachelor's degrees earn approximately $630,000 more than their peers with high school degrees. So we can see that there's certainly a need to have the near peers or advisors in place. So students with disabilities enroll in higher education at subsequently lower rates than their peers who do not have disabilities. And studies have shown in 2015, 69% of the general population of high school graduates were enrolled in college the following year. In contrast, in 2009, only 14% of recent high school graduates with disabilities were attending college. Another initiative that we've been able to roll out since the passage of WIOA is the Student Hireability Navigators. So these dedicated navigators support the vocational rehabilitation counselors' efforts to build community and system capacity to provide pre-EPs to students with disabilities. And the last initiative that I'll cover is the capacity building initiative, which I'm the lead on. So far, we've had 7 focus groups throughout the state to capture some of the challenges that our school parents and VR participants are experiencing when providing support to students with disabilities. We took the information from those focus groups and then organized 7 regional trainings, which we're in the process of conducting now, that will all roll into one statewide training. In the end, our goal is to develop materials and resources for parents, educators, and VR counselors that will lead to ongoing training and joint planning in order to empower our students with disabilities. So in closing, my name is Laura Villarreal. I can be reached at our state office at Texas Workforce Commission. You can, of course, reach me on my cell or my office number. And I don't know, do you have my contact page slide?
You know, Laura, I don't see it in here, but we're going to add it in the email and we'll add it to anything we send out.
Perfect. And in that, wrapping up, I'd like to introduce you all to Patty, who's going to talk about campus level best practices.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Laura. And I do probably have some questions for you later because I love all of the services that you guys have. One of the things that I want to share with you guys this morning, it's my pleasure to be here and to kind of bring you a taste of rural America into this setting. I love the stuff that's out there. As a transition specialist slash counselor slash pretty much everything when you're out in the rural areas, we try to find as many resources for our kids as we can and for our families. So one of the things that I'm going to touch on this morning has to do with how do we get to the services that Laura was talking about. What do I do to prepare my students? And like I said, I don't each of my campuses do transition differently, and I serve 7 districts, 12 campuses, so it'd be about 6 high schools actually. And when we look at how are we preparing these students with disabilities for life after high school, it's important that we prepare all students, and of course that's Texas OnCourse goal, and it's the goal nationwide. But our problem a lot of times is there's actually a legal binding need to do that. The federal government says you have to do this with students with disabilities. So that's our goal as educators in the high school setting. I want to help these guys determine strengths and weaknesses as it relates to their career and college planning. While I love to go in and talk to my students and say, you can be anything you want to be, I also need them to recognize, let's make some realistic pathways and plans. And for some of our students, especially in our life skills setting, sometimes that's difficult for us to do. When we talk about transition, the government, the federal government, and the different requirements that we've had through the years has changed. It's gone lower and lower as we've gone through, and that's a good thing. We've always talked about we want to look at career development at a young age. But when we look at who technically qualifies, who do we need to, make sure that we're getting this information to? Any of our individuals who receive special education or a related service, such as speech, OT, PT, different types of services that they might need, or they qualify under 504, they are eligible for transition services, and we're required to provide that. It's not just like, oh, we're going to offer a career class and they need to take it, but if they can't fit that elective in, it's not like that. Like, we have to make a plan for them, and that's what we need to be doing because they need that support. Any students between the ages of 14 and 22, they are eligible to be enrolled in school, specifically in transitional vocational life skills training through their 21st birthday. So what we like to do is have them come in at 13 and start participating in that planning. If they are currently enrolled in school, whether it's in a private school setting, charter school, public school, online, whatever it is, if they are a student with a disability, they need to be getting transition services from somewhere, from the district where they reside, or in our case, from a co-op or a service provider that's in their area. So what I try to focus on with my students, and a lot of times I'm just the go-between or the resource provider to my staff that work in my districts on the campuses every day. I travel around. So one of the big keywords, and you saw it on that infographic earlier, which I do love, and I'm really excited to get that out to my special ed staff, is looking at self-advocacy. It's a buzzword across the nation, but it's really a buzzword in special ed. We really want to work on our students learning how to advocate for themselves and to take charge of their decisions. Now, some of our students, while intellectually, academically, cognitively may not be able to do that on their own, we do want to help them as much as we can to be able to do so. One of the things that my life skills teacher here in Nocona ISD, which is where my actual office resides, she's been an educator for over 25, 30 years, and she's fabulous at getting her students who are in the life skills setting to actually participate and be in their ARD with intent, not just sitting there while everyone else talks about them, but being in the ARD meeting and talking about what they want to do and how they want to do it. And oftentimes, that may be a group home, that may be getting some of the workforce opportunities that they can do through VR, but figuring out how they can do that and how they can advocate or help their parents advocate for them. And hand in hand with this is letting the student and the parent know that self-determination is something that is going to define how their future looks. Are they able to get in there, make their own choices? Sometimes they're not. And if they're not, we want to empower those parents and caregivers and family members in helping to do that for them. But for our students who are higher functioning and are in the system and they need that push to know that they can make their own choice and that they can determine their own future. And I think that's a huge piece, and letting them have resources like Texas OnCourse where they can go in there and they can determine what they want to do. They can take some assessments. They can look at, what am I interested in? Not, what did dad do, or what job does mom think I need to do, but looking at how can I make my own choice and make a realistic choice for myself. And that's my goal as a transition support person, and as a person who's out there trying to put some of these resources in the hands of our staff and students. And finally, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things, because I really feel that once a student reaches the age of 13, sometimes they're not real interested in talking in the middle of an ARD meeting with, 8 to 10 people in it. So we want to motivate them and encourage them that this is their plan. Help them to want to come to the meetings. I've had students in the past who's like, they refuse to come, or they say, I don't want to be in that meeting. I don't want to talk. But we really want to encourage them. This is their meeting. This is their future. And it's really important that they start participating as young as possible. Some districts will do it earlier. If a student's mature and they want to be there, then we let them. But it just depends on your staff and your diagnosticians and your teachers and administrators and things like that. Constantly encourage these students to participate and be their own self-advocate, and learn that they're the only ones that can determine their future. Include those parents, families, caregivers to the greatest extent possible. And then again, reach out to the people that we have. In the Austin Community College example for foster care students, many of my students are those students. Looking at Texas Workforce Commission and VR, what are some referrals and some resources that I can send to these students, or I can get to their parents, or even if I have them on a listserv via email, we have a website where it links them, whatever it is, to get this information into their hands. And that's the goal of Texas OnCourse. And therefore, as a transition person through special ed setting, that definitely is my goal as well. So I thank you guys for your time, and I really enjoyed listening to everything. And I appreciate all your work, and I'll see you later this summer.
Thank you so much, Patty. We'll take a minute to kind of transition here, because I want to really make a special thanks to Angelica, Laura, and Patty for their content. This is a really, really interesting information, and we've touched on a lot of different topics. And Angelica, you might be able to, speak to this, I think, a little bit better than I can. But, because Texas OnCourse is based in Austin, I would say sometimes our relationships are, really close to people we have locally. But I think that some of the programs that you described that exist at Austin Community College are in other institutions of higher education, both at the community college level and, state and private universities. So for those of you who are on a webinar, I would encourage you to connect with those organizations if you haven't already, because a lot of those supports exist elsewhere with students, for students and families.
Yeah, and I would just add that the foster care alumni program definitely is growing. There's a conference every year, and every year we get asked by one community college or another just to talk one-on-one, because they're trying to grow their own. So a lot of the universities and the community colleges in different areas are trying to build something similar to what ACC has or have already. So I know Texas State, UT, they all have these kind of programs in them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we even get some questions from students and families here at OnCourse about how to, access the tuition that students and families are sometimes eligible for if they have been part of that system. So we try to connect them with those resources, and our content team works diligently to update, the learning modules that are on these topics. Laura had some absolutely great information from the Workforce Commission. Those are some really wonderful programs that are across the state. And I just want to thank Patty. She really is our expert fellow in this area. So she covered a lot of really great information. So I'm going to let Rose Fretza, who's our communications manager, check our chat box to see if we have any questions, and we can answer them live.
Hey there. I'm not sure if this has been addressed in part or in whole yet, but someone asked Laura if you could speak to how you address partnering with employers to employ students with disabilities while maintaining the confidentiality of those students, because sometimes it seems like a big challenge.
In regards to confidentiality, we do ask that individuals who apply for services with us sign documentation that allows us to share information if needed regarding disability, but we really try to keep that as private as possible, just out of respect to the students. Many of the challenges that a first-time employee is going to experience are going to be the same whether or not they have a disability. It's all the soft skill stuff like showing up on time for work, or what to wear, or hygiene, and those types of things. But we've been really lucky in regards to locating employers who want to work with our kids. Many times they're also parents of kids with disabilities. One of the best introductions to that is our Summer Earn and Learn program, because it allows our kids for a finite period of time to experience what employment is like and how to get there. And it also, really teaches the parents that their kids are capable of doing a lot more than they even think they're able to do. So, I hope that I'm answering your question. When it comes to confidentiality of that student's disability, we do try to keep that information private. But, hopefully behind the scenes, what we've done is empowered the student to be able to fill those gaps so that they're able to be successful in a work setting. And many times the employer won't even know that what their disability is. They'll know that they have one, but they may not know, some of the historical challenges that the students experience as a result of the disability. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Laura. This is Patty. That was my question. And yes, it's very helpful. We've just had some experiences sometimes, especially with our students with more cognitive disabilities, that I've worried, and I would look to maybe speak to my regional reps about the where you said getting their consent to divulge that information when we're trying to employ them. So yeah, I like that. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
And I would say too, it also speaks to the theme of self-advocacy, and being present in those meetings, and also making that connection later on into the workplace and communicating what you choose to communicate with your employer. I mean, those are really, really great skills. And I think the earlier we start, the better.
And this is Laura again. I loved what Patty talked about. I think it was you, Patty, when we were talking about the student-led ARDs. I'm a mom of a 15-year-old with Asperger's, and the last thing that he would want to do is to present in front of a room full of adults regarding personal things, about himself. So
absolutely.
I think it has to be specific to that kid and what those needs are, not exactly what the parents' needs are, even though he probably would call me out on more than one occasion. But it has to be in regards to what that kid's needs are.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for your questions and also for responding to that, Laura. I'll just have a couple of announcements, and if there are any questions, we'll definitely address them before we close out of the webinar. Actually, just to kind of continue our conversation, we host monthly Twitter chats, formerly known as office hours, on topics like financial aid, the Common Application, scholarships, college credit in high school. We have a lot of folks participating, and also organizations participate. So we're going to continue this conversation via Twitter on June 26th at 12 p.m. Our Twitter chat will be on advising students with special needs. So it's another great place to continue the conversation. We pose questions, we have fellows involved, we have other organizations involved, and folks can retweet and ask questions about this topic that we just covered. I think a lot of folks on this webinar stay connected with OnCourse already, but you can also share these resources. We have a couple of different newsletters. We have the playbook, which includes resources to support college and career teaching and advising for practitioners, and also news and updates, which is our monthly news update. We have a lot of things that we post on Twitter and Facebook if you'd like to connect with us there, and also share this resource. And we're taking just a little bit, I wouldn't even say time off, but we know that a lot of educators are off for the month of July. So this is our last webinar for this particular school year. But we will be kicking back up in August of 2019. And that topic is usually highly attended, and we will talk about college applications in the month of August. So our webinar schedule for next year, we'll cover high school topics as well as middle school topics. And you should be getting that information if you've joined a webinar at all with us. You'll get the information. We will follow up with a recording and highlight some of the great resources that everyone covered in today's webinar. So we can hang out just for a couple of minutes if there's any other questions. Feel free to add those in the chat box or also ask them. Okay, I don't see any additional questions. I want to thank everyone in our webinar. Thank you to our guest speakers and all of our attendees. We will follow up with an email, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week and summer as well. Thank you so much.